Trump is back in office and cozying up with Obama. Not the way that Obama's cozying up to Jennifer Aniston, but, you know, who knows? He swings both ways, so perhaps Trump has a chance in the future.
But you didn't want it, Ennis. So what we got now is Brokeback Mountain.
I've never seen a president who's had 4 years to ponder on what he would do differently when being politically attacked by his opposition. An opposition he used to be a part of. Yeah, for all the Gen Zers out there, which I don't think I have a lot of them who watch my channel, Trump was a Democrat for majority of his life. But anyways, he clearly has had enough time to come up with 200 executive orders, like Project 2025!
Oh my God!
Yes, there are some parallels between the 900 pages of Project 2025 and his Agenda 47. See, that's how it works. They're parallels. And everything he's been implementing so far is from Agenda 47. I tell you what, I did a whole video on it. You could click right here and watch it afterwards. I will also put it at the end of the video and you can watch it. But in the end of the day, please tell me what is really disturbing about Project 2025 that you currently see being implemented. Also, let me know which page to check out on Project 2025 because like I said, it was 900 pages. I read it. Did you? So if you just want to continue to run with that myth, by all means, go for it. Y'all already destroyed yourself within, so just continue to do what y'all usually always do when you don't get your way. Grab your beer, your tea, your weed, or your coffee, and let's talk about McDonald's favorite customer turned president, Donald Trump's executive orders and the implication it may have on your brain. Low skates.
Here's to show.
So can we finally just be honest here and agree that the Trumpster is not a Republican? He's a populist focused on going down as the best president in our lifetime, and depending on whether you like Trump or not depends on how you are feeling right now. I happen to have voted for Trump. Occasionally you get a glimpse of who I really am in real life. Like anyone who can be honest with themselves, there are some things I like that Trump is doing and some things I dislike. I just happen to be in the inside and I believe that I have a little bit of a better grasp than the average person on what's going on.
You Jewish?
While Dems are still trying to overcome their loss, Republicans are, on the other hand, are a bit confused on what's going on within their own party. And there's a lot of discourse, from arguing about their H-1B visas, which by the way, as I also covered months ago, and nobody watched it, to Elon Musk's retarded ass throwing up the, y'all not gonna catch me doing it, but you know, the hand, intentionally or not, it looked bad. You know, RFK Jr. being targeted by everyone, because he's a danger to big pharma. And you got tech billionaires simping on Trump while Lizard Man tries to get a quick glance at Lex Luthor's plastic girlfriend's boobs. We also got the new age conservative media fighting with the old guard conservative media, and so on. It's all just highly entertaining. But with this new age of Republican Party that's now in place, which is a mix of conservatives, independents, libertarians, neocons, traditional libs, and so on, which of course will cause some friction. But we finally have a president that is not around. And like it or not, this is what we voted for. A radical change to the system. So let's go through some of these executive orders, starting with virtue signaling issues and slowly lubing you up to prepare you for the real issues.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
First and foremost, we officially have only, I repeat, only 2 genders.
This is crazy. This is literally crazy. Are you people insane?
I'm sure big-eyed, big-booty Jenny not from the block AOC will spin this as dangerous rhetoric.
Let me make myself clear. I don't celebrate rapists.
Ridiculous, sure, I know. From the outside it looks stupid, but it's more of a representation of taking back our power for the world to see that we're no longer playing around. We can just change the names of waters if we want to, because we're America.
I ain't afraid of no fire.
You know, kind of like when the Dems were in charge and they began renaming military bases, ripping down statues of Confederate generals, destroying historical relics, and so on. And if you don't see the parallels here and the hypocrisy, then you're still woke. So although now in America, the Gulf of Mexico is now the Gulf of America, it will only be recognized as such by Americans. Here's one that will infuriate the environmentalists even more than shoving straws up turtles' noses. Executive orders that have been signed declaring national emergency. So what does that even mean? It simply means less bureaucracy, less barriers to drill, baby, drill. Let's just be clear, we have become more energy independent as years have gone on, and it's very complex in understanding what we produce, export, and import, but the goal is for us to have less importing and more exporting while keeping our own prices low. I don't know about you, but I liked when I was paying $1.99 for a gallon of gas. This also scraps the EV mandate by 2035, though let's just be honest, that was mostly just California doing their California thing.
Kamala Harris needs a catchphrase.
Ooh, yes, definitely a catchphrase.
Maybe lawmakers over there should worry less about dictating what type of car you ought to drive and buy, and maybe actually focus on the real problems, like those natural disaster fires. Yeah, focus on that. Trump also pulled us out of the Paris Climate Accord. Oh no, how dare he? You know, the agency and agreement to address global warming. Another scam, by the way, is I know I'm not saying that global warming is fake. It clearly isn't, okay? I have eyes and I get reminded every single month through my electric bill. But isn't this a world problem? And when you peel back the onion, you will see that Iran, China, Russia, Africa, they aren't really doing much besides just word vomiting, yet they expect Americans to pull all the weight. See, you realize that China is responsible for at least 28% of the global emissions, and the only countries that are really making a difference in the culture are the Europeans and Japan. Should we justify the billions of dollars we waste through the Paris Climate Accord? It's your tax dollars. We can use it here in America and do something else, like maybe set up some sort of water filtration system everywhere for people to use for free. Or maybe we can actually revamp our recycling system since everything just goes to the same field anyways. Yeah, it's all BS. Just like the $50 million of our tax dollars for condoms that went to Gaza. Not making this up.
Doge and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza. That is a preposterous waste of taxpayer money.
Trump officially withdrew us from WHO. And hey, I'm all for it. If they can't even admit that there's a gender incongruence is a mental health disorder, which it has been all the way up until 2019, then why are we giving them money to push that crap on children and the world?
In a major win for transgender rights, the World Health Organization will no longer classify gender identity disorder as a mental disorder.
Enabling isn't a solution, okay? Not anymore. It doesn't help with anything. We don't enable people dealing with anorexia. We don't enable people who are dealing with schizophrenia. We don't enable people who are into MAP. So, why are we entertaining this? And look, I'm not against trans people. Live your life, but don't tell me that I'm a bigot because I don't think it's smart for children to go through sex changes that have lifelong implications and becoming a slave to the medical industry. And then expect my tax dollars to go towards that agenda. No, thank you, pass.
Actually, I'm not even mad. That's amazing.
Same thing with critical race theory. Get rid of it. All it does is just causes division. And if you actually look at the history of critical race theory, again, it's it's just supposed to be like thinking outside of the box, something you do in college. But of course, you know, we don't ever research anything in this country.
Is really a form of psychological slavery, which actually teaches minority kids that they're inherently disadvantaged because of the color of their skin. White kids that they're inherently advantaged or oppressors because of the color of their skin. And I think that that's actually rolling back 60 years of progress since the Civil Rights Revolution, since when you teach that kids that kind of drivel, that actually becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Also, fun fact, by the way, is America funds 20% of WHO budget. Not making it up. Good luck, guys, with your agendas. Speaking of trans issues, Trump bans sex changes for children not allowed to get on puberty blockers and go through sex change procedures. Do I really need to explain why this is a good thing? The removal of BLM flags and LGBTQ flags from federal buildings and properties. I repeat, federal properties. The only flags that should be up in federal buildings is the United States flag. The Confederate flag bothered people and it was taken down. So should the BLM and LGBT flag be displayed all over federal buildings? No. First and foremost, BLM was a scam. Whoever still walks around supporting that organization is literally a brain-dead goldfish. Throw those stickers away, take off your little rubber band. It's stupid. It's an organization that has enriched itself off the suffering of innocent black people. Follow the money, people.
Did a staggering $90 million to Black Lives Matter. The nonprofit has spent most of that money, ending last year with a $9 million deficit. Federal filings from 2020 to 2022 show just a third, $30 million, went to other charitable organizations. $22 million went to expenses. This includes millions paid to board members and family members of co-founder Patrisse Cullors. For example, $1.6 million went to the father of Cullors' child for security services. Another $2.1 million went to BLM board member Shaloma Bowers for consulting.
I feel vindicated, because 2 years ago, I said that this organization was a disingenuous scam, and it has proven itself to be a disingenuous scam.
Let's dig a little bit deeper. DEI, finally it's gone.
Corporations just paid billions of dollars to race huckster consultants who set up entire firms guiding DEI policies at these companies. And two, most importantly, they discriminated against people based upon the color of their skin or gender when making hiring decisions. We have proof of this definitively. Bloomberg in September of 2023 ran data to show that in 2021 alone, the number of so-called people of color hired at 84 S&P 500 companies had a 94% increase than the year previously. So there was a 94% increase possibly in the number of qualified applicants, or there were a whole lot of people who were hired explicitly because of the color of their skin over others. Now keep in mind, this is a data set of 9 million people who work at the largest and most lucrative firms in the US, including, per Bloomberg, Apple, Walmart, Wells Fargo, major Fortune 500s across the board, sector by sector. It is certainly a direct violation of equal opportunity provision in the law, which dictates specifically that people should not be hired on race alone.
Another BS money pit system that was created to extract money and cause division. Why does the CIA need a DEI program? Think about it for a second. Do you think a whistleblower cares if they get killed by a trans person, a black person, or a female?
What do you make of all this?
Man, I don't even have an opinion.
Well, you gotta have an opinion. I mean, do you think that God came down from heaven and stopped
Why does the NSA need an LGBTQ plus diversity program? Does it matter if you are some overweight Asian, omnisexual amputee that is spying on me? Or do I just want someone who's good at their job? What happened to merit-based system? And if you don't do a good job, you are fired. That's the real world. That's how it works. Enough. This DEI argument has taken up so much space in people's heads who look at life through the lens of race. An example, I see this argument all over social media, specifically between Lloyd Austin and Pete Hegseth. I don't give a shit that Lloyd Austin managed to get all these nice little decorations throughout his military career. Scene. The guy was in charge of one of the worst extractions in Afghanistan that I've ever seen. 13 U.S. military members died due to his incompetence. Not to mention, allies got killed. And he got to keep his job. That's incompetence. But I guess since he's black, it doesn't really matter. And the guy also lowered our readiness and lowered our standards and exacerbated wars. Are you so blind by his blackness? Seriously, on a real note, do you know how disappointed I was to have the very first black Secretary of Defense end up being such a failure? That makes two now. Maybe it's because we as black people just have lowered our standards so much. But then again, that's a discussion for a whole nother video. So these are more of the innocent proposals in my opinion. So let's step it up a notch. Let's talk about what I didn't like for a second, okay? All the funding freezes has caused a lot of confusion due to a lack of detail and due to the mainstream dying media specifically focusing on Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, scaring everyone even though the press secretary addressed these issues over and over and over. Take a look.
Since you guys haven't identified, let's do it together just for Americans at home. Medicaid, is that affected?
I gave you a list of examples: Social Security, Medicare, welfare benefits, food stamps that will not be impacted by this federal pause. I can get you the full list after this briefing from the Office of Management and Budget.
Still, on Twitter, people are claiming funding was halted for Medicaid, for example, because their website portal had an outage. But the truth is, No one was actually affected by this. Payments were not halted, people are still being covered, but we need to instill the fear into people. It's the government, y'all. They're not efficient. Did y'all forget about 2020?
I'm just in shock. I did not see this coming.
It's understandable to feel confused and afraid with the flood of executive orders. It is a lot coming in and out. Luckily, it's my job. I have to do this shit. But this highlights the government excessive control over our lives, from healthcare to transportation to finances to communication. We've given way too much power to the government, and their inefficiency has literally cost us. And it's time to honestly reclaim and demand better. And the reason you're seeing this aggressive halt is because this administration is trying to see where they need to make cutbacks and who needs to be fired. Have you been to the DMV recently? That's the government for you. I know it feels like it's purgatory, but that's essentially the government. It's inefficient all the time. Tariffs is another one. It's a coin toss because this could affect the consumer, but I've seen him use this tactic in 2016 over using military actions. And the idea is to tax the crap out of the product, forcing the seller to lower its cost to offset the tariffs so we, the consumers, don't actually see it. Because if the price is too high, we just won't buy. But this could also backfire, and we will see it through the increase of cost of items. For example, roses for Valentine's Day. If Colombia hadn't caved to Trump's demand to take back their illegal immigrants, he was ready to slap a 25% tariff on them. That probably meant that we were probably paying an extra $2 per dozen roses. Yeah, they're one of our major exports for roses and also coffee. But, Valentine's Day is right around the corner. And that's big business for them because, we've been suckered to believe that there's only one day you should celebrate the love for your wife. So therefore you should go out there, buy rings, buy flowers, and buy chocolates. It's a great moneymaker. Let's turn up the temperature even more. The elimination of remote work and telework, which affected me directly, and as much as I hate it, I really do. I understand why this needed to be done. It was needed. With that being said, Trump has been terminating positions and firing individuals that have targeted him in the past, even though he said he wouldn't, and I have mixed feelings about this. You see, I don't think a lot of people understand this. The media seems to portray it like us employees or us government employees are just regular civilian employees. No, it's not like that. We fall under the president. He is officially our boss. Now imagine you coming into a position and you have control of all these people, but you know that these key figures spent 4 years to try to make sure that you don't get into this position, and they hate you and they use all their resources to try to target you instead of fixing our country. Do you really want to keep them there in that position? I'm just saying, I kind of understand it. But he said he wasn't going to do it. But at the same time, you don't want to work with someone who literally hates you and is not doing their job. So out they go.
Get that son of a bitch off the field right now. Out. He's fired. He's fired!
All right, my little observers, let's spice it up and turn up the heat even more with a splash of hot sauce because things are about to get really spicy. Trump's numero uno talking point, deportation, has had everyone clutching their avocados for Taco Tuesdays like they just found out that guacamole costs went up. Rounding up illegal immigrants and slamming the border shut caused such an uproar that even Hollywood's finest professional liars felt inspired to pick up their phones and drop an audition tape.
I just wanted to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. The children. I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't.
I wish Selena Gomez would have just used that same energy into learning proper Spanish for that piece of crap comedy of the year called Emily Perez. Can you believe that movie got nominated for 13 Oscars?
Era demasiado intenso.
What?
Ya no podía pensar en nada más.
Tom Holman, Obama's pit bull that Trump adopted, has been unchained by the political BS and was released into the wild to do his job. With Dr. Phil.
But you've never been deported before?
With Dr. Phil. With Dr. Phil.
Yeah? How do you know me?
No, I seen Dr. Phil, on TV.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is an example of sanctuary cities, right? We got an illegal alien convicted of sex crimes involving children, and he's walking the streets of Chicago. Again, the downfall the problem with the sanctuary city, that people like us walking the street rather than local law enforcement working with federal agents, this is what we're dealing with. Yeah. You've been charged with sex crimes with children?
Not really.
Not really?
What's mind-blowing is that we can't seem to get on the same page about immigration. Just take a peek at Europe for a second. They're dealing with a massive cultural clashes, especially with Islam, while here in the US, we've got a mix of cheap labor, cartels, terrorists, and genuinely good people looking for a better life. But like any system, when there's room for abuse, you better believe people will take advantage of it. And they have been. Sorry to break it to you. Cartels take advantage of these people. Businesses in America take advantage of these people. And even though only a small percentage of illegal immigrants commit crimes beyond just being here illegally, if you had the chance to prevent a murder, a burglary, or a sexual assault, wouldn't you do it? And how do you prevent something like this? By having a system in place that people should follow to come into this country legally. And this system should be in place so we can vet these people properly and have some sort of zero tolerance policy for crime. But we've lowered our standards where we can't even agree that breaking the law of overstaying on your visa or coming in from Mexico, Canada is illegal and is a crime. The new press secretary explained this perfectly. Roll the footage.
Of the 3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office, can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
And this still is somewhat confusing. Well, here's J.D. Vance explaining it to you.
Well, Margaret, I don't agree that all these immigrants or all these refugees have been properly vetted. In fact, we know that there are cases of people who allegedly were properly vetted and then were literally planning terrorist attacks on our country. That happened during the campaign, if you may remember. So clearly not all of these foreign nationals have been properly vetted.
No, but there are 30,000 people in the pipeline, Afghan refugees.
But my primary concern as the vice president, Margaret, is to look after the American people. And now that we know that we have vetting problems with a lot of these refugee programs, we absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country.
These people
it's
are
not
vetted.
good.
These people are vetted.
Just like the guy who planned a terrorist attack in Oklahoma a few months ago, he was allegedly properly vetted, and many people in the media and the Democratic Party said that he was properly vetted. Clearly he wasn't. I don't want my children to share a neighborhood with people who are not properly vetted, and because I don't want it for my kids, I'm not going to force any other American citizens' kids to do that either.
No, and that was a very particular case. It wasn't clear if he was radicalized when he got here or while he was living here.
I don't really care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country, and I think most Americans agree with me.
Nobody gets a free pass anymore. If you need to hear that from the horse's mouth on who's going to be targeted first, it's the ones that have targeted American citizens first.
What would a person have to do to get a visit from ICE?
For it to be in the country illegally, first of all, I mean, there's nothing in the immigration law that says you got to be convicted of a serious crime to be removed under the INA. So if you're in the country illegally, ICE can visit you. But right now, as we said repeatedly, and the President Trump's been clear, we're concentrating on the worst first, the public safety threats, the national security threats. And just yesterday, in the last 24 hours, ICE arrested over 308 serious criminals. Some of them were murderers. Some of them were rapists. Some of them raped a child. Some were sexual assault of a child. So ICE is doing their job, and they're prioritizing just as the president said they would. So the ICE is performing excellent right now out in the field, and they're going to continue every day.
This is honestly a result of years of incompetence. And this wasn't just a Republican thing or a Democratic thing. Obama even deported more than Trump did. He was just more elegant on the delivery, and he hid the cages. And when it comes to the workforce and the liberal ideology on this, just take a look at this clip real quick by this content creator.
What do you mean? All of them? We gotta let them all go? Man, who's gonna pick all my cotton and who's gonna pick all my food? He's gonna get all of them? He's gonna round them all up. That's great. Who's gonna wash my car, mow my yard, take care of my kids, pick all my food?
Fucking Trumpers.
With that being said, collateral damage will happen because of the past lackadaisical behavior by our own representatives. And now we have to take extreme measures to get back on track. And no, this is nothing like Nazi Germany, that us Western privileged people want to portray it as. They're literally being returned back to where they came from, whether it's South America, Canada, Russia, China, the Middle East, it doesn't matter. But the media will constantly tell you that they're being targeted and poor innocent people, and they will pull out a Hispanic wife or a mom crying as her family is being separated. But when you get locked up for breaking a law here in America, for example, do you get to have your family in prison with you? No! But guess what? The families can, in fact, follow the illegal immigrants back to where they originally came from. It's not that big of a deal. No one is holding anyone hostage here in America. In fact, you are getting a free ride back home. A one-way ticket paid by the government. Ching ching, it makes sense. Look, I'm not blind to the fact that the US has had its hands in a lot of the global chaos, economic hitman, propaganda, strong-arming nations into submissions, you name it, we've been a part of it. But the world is unraveling around us, and too many people are so wrapped up in their own little bubbles of privilege that they don't even see the bigger picture to what's going on. There's literally genocides happening all around us and destructions happening everywhere in this world, far beyond just the Ukraine and Israel proxy war that we're supporting. And to my black brothers and sisters who swear America is the most racist, oppressive place on earth, by all means, book a one-way ticket to Africa. I hear things are super chill in the Congos and Rwanda. And if that went over your head, case in point, you're out of touch. By the ways, Africans don't fuck with us African Americans, just being real.
Look at me. Sure. I'm the captain now.
They don't like us because we're ignorant as hell. Have you ever talked to one of them? They don't like us. And I too would be mad seeing that P. Diddy wasted all this baby oil that could have saved millions of ashy feet. By the time this video drops, I'm sure there will be more executive orders flying off the press, more manufactured outrage that I've missed or didn't catch, and probably a fresh batch of challenges headed our way. I didn't cover every single executive order here because it takes me forever to shoot these videos. I'm a one-man show. I write, I edit, and I create the titles and thumbnails myself, and it's a struggle for me. I don't know if it's because I'm old or is it just because I have a life. So help a brother out and just click that ding-a-ling to get notified every single time I drop a video, but let's just be real. This is the very first president that I've ever seen that is this accessible to the media. Whether you like him or not, he literally will talk to anybody. He's also been extremely upfront about his actions and who's shaking things up in a way that's been making a lot of people feel uncomfortable and happy. The mainstream media, guess what? They're dead. It's over. The lies, the manipulation, the constant fear-mongering should subside once people realize that they are slowly getting disconnected from the legacy media and starts paying attention to people like me and other people. I encourage people to literally get a view that's outside of your own purview. Check out different content creators out there. There's Nate the Lawyer, there's Echoes from Above, there's Decoy Voice, there's FD Signifier, who I don't agree with majority of the time, but he does a great job with his content. There's Cam James, which I don't agree with politically at all, but he has a lot of dope content about exposing some of these grifters. There's so many different content creators out there that I suggest you listen to. And just don't be closed-minded because one person's conservative and one person's Democrat. I watch everything. Everything, even The View. Do you know how much that hurts?
I think that going forward, the convicted felon box on employment applications better be taken off, because if you can be the president of the United States, then you should not be prevented from employment in this country. Because I remember applying for my jobs as a federal prosecutor, and there was a box for convicted felon.
Are you people fucking retarded? That's not a rhetorical question. I literally want you to email me back telling me if you're mentally slow.
We demanded a change, and like it or not, we're getting exactly that. And it's coming in very aggressive, more aggressive than I expected. It's a lot of stuff happening very quickly, but I'm loving 80% of it. My name is Lookwick. I know a lot of shit about a lot of shit, and today's episode matters, and I hope I brought some sort of value in my facetious comedic style of reporting the news through the lens of a former intelligence op. Until the next meltdown, cheerio!